All right. Well, next up on our bowl slate, we have the LA Bowl. I think sponsored by Jimmy Kimmel. It's Washington State versus Fresno State. This one's happening on Saturday afternoon on ABC at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. Look, at the end of the day, we get to keep everything about this game on the West Coast, right? This is Washington State, it's Fresno State. Not the same conference, but both on the same coast, some familiar foes. Certainly not anyone that they're unfamiliar with. Washington State has an up and down year coming into this one, an offense that struggled at times, but a stout defense that more than held its own in a lot of situations. And then in comes Fresno State, who might be one of the hottest teams in the country. They start the year 1-4, but they haven't lost a game since. It's been a while since they've actually tasted a loss, including in their conference championship game where they handled Boise on their own field. Bulldogs, like I said, hadn't lost a game in a while. The defense they bring in, they're not a joke either. This is a couple really good defenses, both of them finishing in the top 35 in scoring defenses. They both have competent play on the offensive side, maybe not necessarily the most explosive talent on either side of the ball. Who's going to make more plays to win this one? I think that's going to be the key for this one to see who can end on the positive note here. Trey, talk about Washington State for a second. What's going to happen to get them to win this game?
Well, first of all, if you're looking to bet this game, bet the under. That's probably the safest
It's
bet
probably the same bet.
in this game because, both of these teams, I think we thought coming into the season were going to be offensive juggernauts, and they turned out to be defensive juggernauts. So, Washington State, especially as I was doing preseason previews this year with their new offense that they brought in offensive coordinator and quarterback Cam Ward from Incarnate Word. They put up buku numbers down in San Antonio last season, and it really just didn't click for them for whatever reason all season long. We were just kind of waiting. I know Mitch was joking too. Every single week, we are just like, all right, is this when it clicks? Is this when it clicks? And it just never really did for Cam Ward in this offense. And because of that, they had to rely on their defense to really get a lot of production and a lot of wins this season. So if they're going to win in this one against a really talented offense and a talented defense for Fresno State, like you mentioned, they've got to shut down that Fresno State run game and try to make them one dimensional. Jake Hayner is an awesome quarterback. He can definitely beat you with his arm. But when he doesn't have that supplemental running game, that's definitely when Fresno State has struggled more this year. And they've got to avoid turnovers too. I know that sounds cliche. I know it sounds like a really cop out answer, but they might have the talent advantage in just a little bit of places, but they really can't avoid mistakes. They've thrown 8 interceptions on the year. That's not too bad, but Fresno definitely talented enough on defense that you can't waste those opportunities. You have to cash in drives. Cam Wardstone had a few red zone turnovers this year. I'm thinking back to the Oregon game where he was right there with them in a shootout, and he kind of gives the game away with the pick six and the fumble. I can't remember if it's a pick six or a fumble, but it's a defensive touchdown for
Right.
Oregon. And, Washington State's offense really hasn't been the same since that game. They looked like they were putting it together against Oregon and really hasn't looked the same. So, got to stop Jordan Mims on the defensive side of the ball, though. If Mims gets going, it's definitely going to open up the pass. And like I said, Jake Kaner is going to pick the defense apart if you let him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's ultimately your keys for Fresno State as well. If you're Fresno State, the way you're going to win this game is if Jordan Mims and Jake Hayner are dynamic. They maybe haven't been the best offense all year. That there have definitely been times where they've been inconsistent, but over this winning streak that they've had, they've both been better. They've been leading this charge for this team down the stretch, and they're going to have to put up some big numbers against a Cougar defense that's really good. They hold their opponents to pretty low offensive outputs. They don't tend to turn the ball over at Fresno State too much, but they're probably going to need to push it a little bit and maybe risk some turnovers if they're going to take advantage of some of these opportunities. Again, you play a defense as good as Washington State's has been, no matter how maybe inconsistent they've been on that side of the ball. I do think that you're going to have to kind of push it a little bit to push the scoring and not just settle for three or, let a drive stall and play field position. You're going to need to find ways to score against this Washington State team. Ultimately, in this game, I went back and forth on this one as far as who I thought was going to win. I do think Fresno State caps this one off. There's something to be said for a team that's hot and comes in with momentum. I don't think it's particularly high scoring, like you said. Probably bet the under, not financial advice. But I would say maybe something in the realm of a 23 to 17, maybe 23 to 14 type of situation. Definitely think Fresno State comes out on top of this one, just makes a few more plays down the stretch.
Yeah, I had to look up the line to make sure my score prediction backed up my under bet here. But over under is at 52. So I'll go something along the lines of, we'll say, I like the 23 number. I'll go one more point. I'll say 24-20. Fresno State pulls it out late.
There we go. Exciting to watch. We'll see what happens in LA.
Gracious him. How about that?